What's up guys, Kool-Aid here. Welcome to another episode of Good Gun or Polished Turd. Today we are going to be talking about the low zoom bolt action sniper rifles. This includes the SAS-R for the NC, the TSAR-42 for the TR, and the Ghost for the VS. Now, aside from appearance, all of these weapons share the exact same stats. Yes, the Ghost does have bullet drop. That's still a common misconception that a lot of people don't know, but all the sniper rifles, VS included, the bolt action sniper rifles, have bullet drop. The semi-auto ones are a different story, but the bolt actions do. Also, all of these weapons are going to cost a modest 250 certification points or 500 station cash, and they're all going to share the same optics as well. You can use anything from iron sights up to a 4x zoom on these bolt actions. That's one of the things that actually gives these weapons their personality. The other we will talk about in a minute. So if you're not a fan of short to medium range sniping, if you like to sit up on a hill a couple hundred meters away, you're probably not going to want to use these. You're probably going to want to go with one of the other available bolt actions in the game. So in typical format, I want to talk about how I felt about these weapons previous to Performance Update 02. And I'll be honest with you, I did not use them a whole lot, and I have a very specific reason why. When I snipe, it's typically from within 150 meters, usually within 100 meters anyway, and I always have my other sniper rifles equipped with either a 6x or a 7x scope. So I feel very comfortable getting into that medium range, still having somewhat low zoom optics on there, and still being able to pick people off just as easily as I would using a lower zoom scope that you'd get on these bolt actions. So it wasn't as diverse as I would have liked in a sniper rifle. Obviously, when I'm in real close quarters, I'm going to be using a submachine gun, so there wasn't a whole lot of range there where I actually said I would prefer one of these weapons over the longer range bolt action rifles. Now that's not to say that this is a bad weapon at all. In fact, if you did most of your sniping within 75 meters, this is still a great weapon. It still has that one-hit kill headshot capability. It's going to have a better field of view due to the lower zoom optics, and it did have a slightly faster reload over the other bolt actions as well. In fact, I actually did a loadout video featuring the low zoom bolt action sniper rifles, but a certain playstyle came with the loadout video I did, and it was more of a gimmicky loadout where I ran around using this in extreme close quarters for the most part, you know, just kind of playing around. And like I said, it was just more of a gimmicky loadout. How you should be using this weapon is more of how you're going to see in this video, and this is all post Performance Update 02 footage. So like I said, good gun, but I didn't use it on a consistent basis. So what exactly did they change in Performance Update 02 to give it a little bit more of an edge? Well, the first thing they did was adjusted the reload times. The long reload got improved from 4.5 to 4 seconds, and the short reload got improved from 3.15 seconds to 2.8 seconds. And typically, reload time on bolt actions is not going to be a big deal, especially when you're long range sniping. You can just cloak, reload, whatever. It's not a big deal, but it's a little bit more important on these bolt actions because you're going to be a little bit closer to your enemy, and every little bit helps. They also reduced the maximum damage from 750 to 700. Really doesn't make a difference. Still going to be a one-hit kill headshot. And the minimum damage changed from 550 at 750 meters to 400 at 265 meters. That sounds like a drastic change, but it really does not matter. It's still going to be a one-hit kill headshot out to 200 meters, and that's really what we're looking at. It'll still be a two-hit kill body shot at 200 meters as well. Anything beyond that, it's probably going to turn into a three-hit kill body shot, or one hit to the head, one hit to the body. But with these low zoom optics, you're rarely, if ever, going to find yourself firing at targets out past 200 meters anyway. So the last and probably the biggest change that they made was they removed scope sway from low powered optics, and that includes anything from 4x and below, which includes anything that you can actually put on this weapon. So you no longer have to hold shift while you're trying to line up a headshot. And to be honest with you, when I first started using these again after Performance Update 02, I didn't really think it was a big deal. I am so accustomed to holding shift, to holding your breath, using any sniper rifles, going all the way back to, you know, any of the first-person shooters that I've ever played on PC. It really wasn't a big deal, especially in the way that I use these sniper rifles, which was more for closer quarters, and I did typically most of my sniping by drag scoping, where you don't have to hold your breath really anyways, so I didn't think it was all that important. But I soon realized that by not having to hold your breath, not having any time restrictions when trying to line up a longer headshot, it gives this gun a little more versatility. You're going to be able to reach out and touch people a little bit further, because normally with those low zoom optics, you don't have a very good sight picture. Headshots are a little bit harder at longer ranges. But now, since you don't have to worry about time, you can line it up perfectly and pinch off that perfect headshot. Still, you're not going to want to be using this thing for long range sniping. I would say anything over 100 meters, I would actually prefer something with higher zoom optics on it. Anything within 100 meters, this gun is just awesome now. Not just because of the lack of scope sway, not just because of the reload speed, but those lower zoom optics are really awesome for getting a good field of view. You're not fully engulfed in your scope like you would be with a 6x or higher, so you can pay attention to what's really going on around you a lot better with these weapons. One downside with the lower zoom optics, besides the obvious that they have lower zoom, is that when you cloak, your crosshairs will cloak along with you. Now there's still an outline there, and it's usually not an issue. You can usually still line up a headshot while cloaked, but against certain backdrops it's going to be a little bit harder, and you might have to adjust slightly after coming out of your cloak. That's not going to affect too many players that often, but I did think it was worth noting. So overall, I'm glad Sony made these changes. Like I said, this was a good weapon before, but I didn't have a lot of use for it, whereas now it definitely does feel like it's a little more useful and has a little more room or a little more range where I would like to use this weapon. So definitely gets my good gun seal of approval. I would have gave it a good gun seal of approval prior or previous to Performance Update 02, but I am glad that they made these changes, and it does make this weapon just a little bit better without becoming overpowered. As far as attachments go for these weapons, you only have to make two decisions. What optics do you want on it, and whether or not to suppress it. And when I originally started using this weapon way back, I suppressed it all the time, and I was having, trouble at medium to longer ranges because of the bullet velocity. These weapons already have the lowest bullet velocity of the bolt action rifles. You throw a suppressor on there, you're just going to lower it a lot more. So my suggestion would be not to suppress it unless you know you're going to be doing all your shooting or sniping within 50 meters. As far as optics go, it's really personal preference. I prefer either the 3.4 or the 4X just to get the maximum amount of range on a gun that's already limited in terms of range. So that's the way to go. And even in closer quarters, those aren't going to limit you too much. And you always have the option to hip fire, which you guys have seen me do quite a bit in this video, which it's not the most reliable thing, but it's there and it is an option. So anyways, guys, that pretty much wraps it up. I will leave a link in the description to my sniper loadout, or my suicide sniper loadout featuring the low zoom bolt action rifles. Again, it's kind of gimmicky in the way I use it, and that was previous to Performance Update 02, so I used it a little bit differently then. One other thing I will note is that I love using the Commissioner with this weapon. It makes for a great 1-2 combo, similar to shot knifing, but with a little bit of range. So anyways, other than that, that's pretty much all I have. So as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to y'all later.